Whether you're a sportsman or you're in business or you know, doing what I do where you make TV shows, nobody does this to become 77th. You know, you always strive to be more successful than your competition. And the day that stops, you have to stop doing this for a living, genuinely. You have to have that drive. Even as a kid, if I was losing Monopoly, I'd tip the board up. Seriously? Oh, my God, yeah, absolutely. Or I'd be the banker and nick all the money, so I would always win.
About you, first of all, you are really a sweet guy, and you come off like you say who cares, whatever, but you really do have a big heart. You're a sweet guy, and I think a lot of people say because you're making so much money that somehow people like judge you like, oh, he's making this much a year or whatever. But I think what people don't know, because you're, I mean, like Il Divo and Leona Lewis, and I mean, you are so successful and so wealthy, and 15 years ago you were broke.
Yes.
15 years ago.
Yeah. 15 years ago I had the equivalent of $7 in my pocket, which was to get me in a cab back to my mum and dad's house.
You had to move back to your mom and dad's house.
I had to sell my house, my car. I had $7, and all I was thinking was, I hope this lasts the cab fare. So I did. I lost everything at the age of, you know, 32, 33, however old I was. But you know, it was honestly the best thing that ever happened in my life, because actually losing it is not as bad as you think. I wasn't embarrassed, and now, you know, everything I've got I appreciate, and you know, which I try and say on our show, you actually can get what you want if you have talent, if you're talented, but most importantly, you have to work hard and be patient. So, you know, I kind of went through both.
Yeah. It's great. It's great. All right. Well...
Like Roman orgies, that's the only way you can describe them.
This was us in the 80s, dressed up, drinking champagne, in our shoulder pads, thinking we were fabulous.
Simon was always a millionaire. Just there weren't a million in the bank.
The Simon's luck eventually ran out. Despite the hits, his record company collapsed. He turned up at his mum's door with just £5 to his name.
It was shattering for him to have to move back in with his parents again at the age of 30-something. He never complained, never, ever, ever felt sorry for himself. He just was determined to do something about it. And he did.
You're 30 years old, you've got no money, literally, you're down to a few quid, and you're heading home to your mum and dad. What's going through your mind?
I was in a cab, and I was working out, I'm not sure whether the £5 is going to cover the cab fare. I mean, literally, that was it. It was all gone. So that was my only thought. It was during the 1980s. It was a time where everybody was borrowing a ton of money. It was the yuppies. It was driving Porsches, whatever. Everything was borrowed, or everything was mortgaged, and the whole lot literally came crashing down. And I owed the bank, I don't know, £300,000 or £400,000. I had to sell my house, my car. In a strange way, it was incredibly liberating, because you know, everything wasn't mine. It belonged to somebody else, and I never really missed it because it wasn't actually mine in the first place.
What did your mum say when you walked through the door?
Oh, she was really happy. Couldn't wait to get me back. You know, they were absolutely fine, and it was very interesting, because at a time like that, you really realise who your friends are. And my friends really were my friends. I wasn't embarrassed. You know, I paid back the bank loan, bought an old sports car, which I loved, an old TR6 for £7,000. Used to bomb around in that. And I just thought, this time, you know, I'm going to do it properly. I'm going to take my time. I'm not going to borrow money. And I kind of, in a weird way, enjoyed it.
How did you get back on your feet? Was there a person who said, you know what, I still believe in you?
I'd say, you know, my dad really, more than anything else, because he, you know, when I went back to live there, I mean, you know, they had a nice flat in London. You know, it was fine. I mean...
What did he say to you, Dad?
He just basically said, look, you've just learned a lesson. You know, he didn't really preach, other than you've got to do it properly.
When you got a bit of power and you had your own gig, for want of a better phrase, what kind of boss were you?
Well, that's a good question, because, I mean, in the first, you know, 8, 10 years, or however long it was, when I first started, we only had 2 or 3 people, you know, working in the office. I mean, it was tiny... So I'd never really felt like a boss to them. It was just, you know, we were all hustling in those days, trying to make a living. Losing is not an option.
correct. Well, but being here, everybody is a winner in a way. Coming here and
no. Unless you win, you leave as a loser. I've been in that position many, many times. I hate it.